go over this very important topic. I'm personally very excited about it because it's a history of Muslims that we don't actually know that much. But I want to remind everybody that tomorrow night there is an ICNI program here. The community is pretty much invited, but you have to actually register to come. We put the message out on the WhatsApp groups. Also, Al Huda Academy has a fundraiser on Sunday night, just around this time. Please come here and support them. If you know the work they do and the education they give to the kids, you will realize that it's not only the kids that go there that need, it's not the parents that go there that need to support, but all the parents in the community needs to support the Islamic schools because of the environment we're in. And then finally, this afternoon, I made an announcement about tax deduction donations. I know a few of you have come to me and asked the question. Yes, 100% of what you donate to the masjid is tax deductible. But think about this very carefully, because just today, the United States of America vetoed a UN resolution for a ceasefire. Just today, they vetoed it. All the other countries on the Security Council approved it. They voted for it. United Kingdom abstained. The United States vetoed it, which means that our tax dollars will continue to kill the people in Palestine. So if you are making a tax deduction donation to the masjid, you should know that it's, what you're doing is going to help the masjid, but it's also going to prevent you giving your tax money to the government so that it kills our people. So just think about that. I just want to leave that with everybody. It's very important, inshallah. And now I will turn it over to the two shuyukhs here.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah. So Dr. Asif Hirani graduated, I'm just kidding. Everybody knows Sheikh Asif, mashallah. So I believe the topic today is the virtues of the city of Worcester over Dallas and all of the great benefits that it offers. And I'm just kidding. The subject of today is why the Imam is planning to leave Dallas and come back to. That one's not a. Are you sure? Inshallah, Sheikh will be speaking about some lessons from the history of the Mongols and how they were people that were trying to conquer the Muslimin, but Islam conquered over their hearts. Alhamdulillah, it's a great pleasure to have the Sheikh come back. If you want to stay, you're more than welcome to. Barakallahu feek, Sheikh.
Can I use this mic?
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa ala amma ba'd. So first of all, let me tell you this from the bottom of my heart. I love you all for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And maybe if I'm meeting all of you, maybe we won't be able to spend that much time, which I should spend with all of you, because there's so many people and I have to leave. Tomorrow I have a program in 2 different communities. So do not think I'm ignoring any one of you. You are close to my heart, especially if you sisters send this message after Salatul Jum'ah that I give entire time to brothers. So wallahi, I have a huge respect for all of you. It's just the time is so short, subhanallah. But may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all for coming tonight. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of us and gather all of us in Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah, where we will have ample amount of time, inshallah. And inshallah, my plan is to pull all of you to Dallas, right, Jamali? No, I'm kidding. Let's start, inshallah. Original plan was to speak about this for 1 hour, but I know, subhanallah, Friday night, I'll try to finish it in 40 minutes and then have Q&A, whether on the topic or on any topic of how cool Dallas is and how cold Massachusetts is. We can talk about those things, inshallah. Okay, this is a very important topic. With the current genocide going on in Palestine, this topic becomes more important because this is the biggest genocide happened to Muslims in the history of 1400 years. So this is extremely important, how Muslim community reacted, what was the reaction of the layman Muslim. And when you see Muslim today, is it better? Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Feels better, mashallah. Okay. Because now, when I say it feels better, everything is about feeling these days, right? Everything is about feeling. If I'm feeling like this iPad, I can, right? Everything is about feeling. Okay, let's start with that. So when the first or the biggest unprecedented genocide on Muslim community in 1400 years, which happened, was actually during the time of Mongols. And I want you to understand this from an objective perspective. Don't just listen to the story and say, subhanallah. Try to implement the lessons which you learned from today, inshallah,'s lesson. So, okay. By the way, whatever I'm saying, for academic nerds like myself, 2 books I can recommend. I'm just giving you the summary of those 2 books. One is by Dr. Ali Sallabi. He wrote a book on Al-Mughal wa Tatar, Bain al-Intishar wal-Inkisar. He wrote a book. I don't think so it's translated in English or Urdu. That I will highly recommend this. And Sheikh Abul Hasan Ali Nadwi wrote a history book, and he actually spoke about this. Okay. Before we can start, how many of you have heard the word Mongols? Raise your hand. Okay, great. How many of you have heard the word Tartar? Raise your hand. What's the difference? Who will tell me this? Right now, there's no difference. Every Tartar is Mongol, but every Mongol is not Tartar. When they gathered, they called themselves as Mongolian Empire. There were few tribes of Tartar, few tribes of Mongol, few tribes of this. And so basically, when I'm using Mongol, it's same as some Arabic books, some Urdu books, some Farsi, Persian books. When they would call Tartar or Tatar in Arabic, they are same as Mongols when I'm saying Mongols. Remember this, don't lose in terms. Mongols, Tartars, Tatars, they are same thing when I'm talking about particular history. Is that clear? Don't get lost in details. Okay, let's start. Just around 13th century, so basically 7th century Hijri, so basically almost 800 years before from today, there was a dynasty called Mongol dynasty. And if you have to see today, where is Mongol dynasty? It was present-day China, present-day Russia, present-day Serbia. So that region was led by a leader called Genghis Khan under Mongol dynasty. And if you see China, Russia, Serbia, west towards China, Serbia, Russia, was the starting point of Muslim dynasties and Khilafah. Now let me tell you about the Muslim situation also. What is Muslim situation? Which Muslim Khilafah was there? Anyone can tell me? Abbasids. Okay. Just like Muslims are divided today in different countries, nation state, back in the days there was one Khalifa in the capital. What was the Khalifa of Islam? Where was the capital of Islam? Baghdad, mashallah. How many of Baghdadis are here? I know, mashallah. Abu Baklawa, mashallah. Sheikh Khalid, Abu Maria, mashallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our city, Baghdad. It's a city of scholars, mashallah. So many scholars came, mashallah. Okay, Khalifa was in Baghdad. And Abbasid Empire was one of the superpower of that time, by the way. Superpower. But unfortunately, around that time, even though we had Khalifa, but we were divided in different dynasties, and Khalifa was just there for barakah, ceremonial reasons. There were different dynasties. There was one dynasty which happened to build after Salahuddin Ayyubi called Ayyubid dynasty. Then there was a dynasty which is attached to Mongol Empire. It was Iran, Uzbekistan, modern day Uzbekistan, called as Khawarizm dynasty. They were Muslims, but they had beef with the Khalifa and Abbasid Khalifa. Remember this. Okay, now let's start, inshallah, this entire history. This is, if I have to ask you about the Palestine conflict, why Palestine conflict started, and depending on which news channel you are seeing, if you will see a Fox News, and if an anchor is asking why Israel is doing this, they would say because of October 7th incident, right? It looks like that everything happens on October 7th, right? There's no historical background, no intertextuality, no contextuality, nothing. Everything is started from October 7th. You tell me, is it a right way to see the history? No. Yes, something happened on October 7th, but before that, there was something consistently happening which led to October 7th. Okay. There was one incident which happened to be the reason why Mongol basically did this genocide on Muslim regions. But before we can see those reasons, it's a very shallow gauge of any history student like me and you, we would see this one incident and we would say this is the reason why Mongolian came. There were series of incidents which tells us why we were building it up in Muslim community before Mongolian came and attacked us. Is that clear? What were those? Abbasid Empire in and of itself were divided, as I said. There were civil wars happening within Abbasid Empire. There are different dynasties within Abbasid Empire fighting for each other for power. That's the first weakness we had. Damascus, and Egypt, they were part of Muslim Empire, right? But Damascus Sultan sought help from French armies to help him to attack Egyptian ruler under Abbasid. And French, you know, Franks, they just attacked Islam under the Crusaders, where Salahuddin Ayyubi fought. This was happening, that we were seeking help from outsiders against our own brothers. Sounds familiar? Okay. Then in the Baghdad, city of scholars, city of knowledge, few more things were happening, immorality-wise. We were very bad. The elite, they had all the bad habits which any rich segment of the society which have not a proper tarbiyah they will have. Immorality, prostitution for the elites. When you have this in your elite, then how can they make those policies which will be beneficial for the entire community? Sounds familiar, right? Mongol will attack on the west of Islamic Empire, and in Baghdad, some of the elites are doing this. Sounds familiar? That maybe one of our region is being attacked, and I can have Shakira making a concert for me. Familiar, right? Okay. I don't have to make deliberate relationship, inshallah. Let's move forward. Then there was a division also, the division of Shia Sunni. When Mongols will come and attack, I will tell you, Mongols were powerful, but we were also weak because of inner conflicts. There were Shia Sunni conflict in Baghdad so high that were making us weak inside, and we had several people within our regime. And I'll tell you that. Then furthermore, military-wise and ideologically, we were weak. To protect our region was never our priority. Wasting the money, wastefulness, extravagance, all those things were there. This was the outside factors. And by the way, one more thing, you all love fiqh debates, mashallah. I know this masjid in Massachusetts. I know I was Imam for 5 years. I know your social security number also, by the way. I know exactly. Mashallah, Massachusetts people love those debates, 20 rakat tarawih or 8 rakat tarawih. Right? Here we had WIC, 20 rakat tarawih, and during the COVID, I said, let's have 8 rakat tarawih. There was a ka'annahu yawm al-qiyamah. Earthquake came here in Worcester Islamic Center, that Imam Asif is trying to liberalize the masjid, right? And then whether we are for local moon sighting, global moon sighting, Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Las Vegas for moon sighting, I don't know. But these are big issues, right? Big issues. Go to the history books. Before Mongol came to attack us, Baghdad was the hub of these secondary fiqh debates. Shafis and Hanbalis used to argue with each other on these fiqh debates. I don't have time to go into the detail, but they would use these fiqh arguments to say you are not proper Muslims. This is happening within the Muslim, and now something will happen from an external reasons. Okay? Okay, now let's start. Then comes Genghis Khan. So now I told you, Mongolian dynasty and Muslim dynasty, they are neighbors to each other. At least the east of Islamic Empire and the west of Mongolian Empire. Is that clear? If you can see the map of Asia right now. Genghis Khan sent a letter to the Sayyid Khawarizm Shah, a leader of Khawarizm dynasty, who is part of a bigger picture of Abbasid Khilafah. Remember this, don't get lost in names. He wrote a letter to a Muslim sultan that since you are a powerful sultan, powerful king, I am a powerful king, I have a Mongolian dynasty, you have a Khawarizm dynasty, you are a Muslim, I am, by the way, Mongolian have different religions. Some of them were Christians, some of them were sun worshippers. But anyway, so we were both powerful sultan king. Let's start business relationship. It's good for neighboring countries. Khawarizm Shah said, let's start. 400 traders came from Mongolian dynasty. The first time they wanted to come into the Muslim empire. Now listen, how many? 400. At the border of Muslim dynasty, when they left Mongolian dynasty, there's a place called Atrar. a minister working in the Muslim dynasty who was very greedy, because these 400 people coming from Mongol, they had inventories with them. So he wanted to grab all the inventories. But obviously he need to find a reason. So he wrote a letter to the Sultan Khawarizm Shah that I think they are not traders, they are spies coming from Mongolia. We should do something. And that Sayyid Khawarizm Shah said, I don't know how you will deal with them, but do whatever you want. And you know what he did? He killed all of them except one. 399 were killed. And one of them actually left away because he ran away. He went straight to Genghis Khan and he narrated the entire story. You know what Genghis Khan said? Genghis Khan said, let me send my delegation, my ambassador, to the Sultan directly for the complaint. So he sent his ambassador with his delegation. So now the entire delegation of a powerful dynasty is coming to the, let's say, White House, to the Khawarizm dynasty. And they are complaining. Genghis Khan has sent his delegation, his ambassador, that you should take revenge. This is injustice. This is where the big blunder happened. The story starts from here. You know what he did, the Sultan Khawarizm Shah? Any idea? He did not only kill him, the ambassador. By the way, political science student, when you kill an ambassador, what happens? War. He did not only kill him, but he tortured the entire delegation. He burned the beard of the delegation people, and he chopped the head of the ambassador, and he sent the head back to Genghis Khan because he wanted to flex the muscle. Now, this was basically a disaster from Sayyid Khawarizm Shah. Okay, when Genghis Khan was going to see this, his blood will boil. And he said this famous words, which is still recorded today in the books of history. When he saw the head, he says, now on, and this is a turning point in the history, I will tell you how. When he saw the head of his ambassador, he said, from now on, just like a star can have one moon, our entire area, region will have one sultan, either Sayyid Khawarizm Shah or Genghis Khan. It's a war until either I will die or he will die. He gathered the army, he started a journey, and this journey is the most historic journey. You know why? From this journey, because of the blunder of Muslims, within 100 years, Mongolian dynasty will going to become the most powerful dynasty in the entire world. Because they will capture the entire Asia almost, to the Europe also, just because of this incident. They will go crazy and wild after this. And now the series start. He gathered the army, and then he went into the border of Islam. The first big city they attacked was Uzbekistan, modern Uzbekistan, traditionally called as, any Uzbeki, Brother Abdul Aziz or anyone? Traditional name of Uzbekistan, Bukhara. You know what? First of all, do you know why this city is so popular, city of Bukhara? Imam Bukhari taught his Sahih Hadith, Sahih Bukhari here. It's so popular. Okay. Now basically genocide is starting. And I want you to basically listen to this and try to find relationship with what's happening in our time. Mongolian Empire along with Genghis Khan leadership went. First city is Bukhara. Remember the year 1219. Year is very important, 1219. They went, and this city, they did not only destroy the city, they committed such a genocide, they killed everyone. You know what everyone means? Men, women, and children. Any idea how many people passed away? When Ibn Kasir, a famous historian, when he writes about this, you know what he says about the numbers? He says, for Baghdad, we have the numbers. For Bukhara, we don't even have the numbers because there is no report from that. No one can narrate you how many people passed away because everyone died. Can you imagine this? And before he would commit this genocide, I want you to pay attention. He would go and enter into the famous masjid of Bukhara, and he would give basically a speech, which this speech is recorded by Ibn Asir, rahimahullah, and he gives the speech to the Muslims. And he says, Innani nuqmatullah ala al-ard, فإذا لم تكونوا مجرمين فإن الله ما كان يسمح لي بأن أعقابكم. He says, O Muslims, I am the punishment of your God. And God have sent me, your God have sent me to punish you. He's basically saying, if your sultan would not have messed it up, I would not have dealt with you in this way. And then he committed the genocide. By the way, they left few women. And you know why? To commit the unspeakable crimes. And after that, they killed them. You might think that's the end, but this is not even the start. After Bukhara, which year it was? Remember this, 1219. Next, by the way, very important question. I have my books for sale, but I will answer you if I'll give you a gift, brother or sister, if you will answer this. Which Khilafah was there? Abbasid or Umayyad? Abbasid. Okay. Why the Abbasid Khalifa from Baghdad didn't send the army, we were superpower, to protect our brothers and sisters and children in Bukhara? Why? Any idea? Why they were weak? Because of lack of unity. Because Sayyid Khawarizm Shah had a beef with Abbasid Khalifa also. Did you just see how the inner conflicts were going to cost us? That our brothers and sisters and kids are being butchered, and because it's not my nation or it's not beneficial to me economically, so I won't help them. Anyways, let's move forward to the, by the way, why Genghis Khan did that? Didn't he have a heart? He should have just killed men and leave the women and kids. Why he would even kill the kids? Tell me. Any idea? Historians said that his entire ambition from this journey is to capture the entire world. And obviously he cannot. So what he did, he's playing the tactic of fear. That do that, make this as an exemplary lesson. Do this with 1 city and 2 cities and 3 cities, and the entire world will surrender to you. Cast fear into their hearts. That was the technique of Genghis Khan. Okay. Then he moved next to Samarkand. Same thing, complete genocide. Then he moved to Urganj. He did the same thing. Then he moved to many towns. Nisharpur, Khawarizm. Same genocide. Completely annihilating these cities and regions. Not only Muslims, but even non-Muslims in Europe is starting feeling the heat about Mongols, that anytime they can come and attack us. During this time, by the way, 1219 to 1221 and 1222, these 2-3 years were extremely heavy. We lost our entire eastern part of Islam, eastern part of Islamic region. Remember this. Now Mongols are taking charge of that. Okay. Remember this. 1218 and 1219, they attacked us on the Bukhara and Samarkand. When Baghdad was attacked, 1258. How many years? 40 years. Can you imagine if Khalifa would have done something to protect, after 40 years he would have been saved. But he said, oh, this is Bukhara, this is Samarkand, we are far. They are not harming us. If they are taking Bukhara, Samarkand, let them. We are enjoying with Shakira. 40 years. 40 years. Okay, let's move forward. After this, 1221, Genghis Khan won. Already, Genghis Khan is an old person now. He has 4 kids. Genghis Khan is on the deathbed. But he have a vision of conquering the entire world under his dynasty. So he said to his 4 kids on his deathbed, that see, I had a vision to conquer this 4 world. I have seen when sultans and kings die, their kids fight within among themselves about who will going to get the bigger slice. After my death, he draw a map of 4 dimensions of the world. He says one kid should go to this principality, the other kid should go to this principality, and all these kids listened to his advice so much that within 100 years, I told you, this will be a biggest dynasty. They were obedient kids, mashallah. They were not woke kids. They were obedient kids, mashallah. Let's move forward. By the way, in the Arabs, are they afraid of Mongols' attack? Absolutely. They are really afraid. Anytime Mongols will come. There is a saying in Arabic which was very popular, kind of spread until Egypt. They would say, إِذَا قِيلَ لَكْ أَنَّ التَّتَارِ يُهْزَمُونَ فَلَا تُصَدِّقُوا. He used to say, if it was said that Tartar has been overpowered, Tartar has been defeated, do not believe them. They can never be defeated. That was the saying which was popular in the streets of Arab. Because of the situation they would do. They became pessimistic and pacifistic also. They never want to do something to engage so that they can show and flex their muscle. Okay, let's move forward. Then comes the biggest collapse, and that is the collapse of Abbasid Khilafah, 1258, 39 years after Samarkand and Bukhara, the sack of Baghdad. Let me tell you what is Baghdad. Our intellectual hub was Baghdad. 3 million books were there handwritten in Baghdad. Muslim community had the intellectual decline started from Baghdad. Our golden ages were found in Baghdad. We were rising in technology in Baghdad. Ulama in deen and dunya and technology were coming from Baghdad. The biggest library in the world, handwritten, which have more books than the Library of Congress today, was House of Wisdom, Bayt al-Hikmah, in Baghdad. And let's see what happened with Baghdad. Subhanallah. By the way, this entire incident, Baghdad can never recover after this. The might which Baghdad had, the city which Baghdad had, can never recover. The history of, beautiful history of hundreds of years, Baghdad would never able to recover from this. Let's see what happened. The grandson of Genghis Khan, his name was Halaku Khan. Genghis Khan passed away, 40 years have passed. Halaku Khan was told by his leader, Minke Khan, just don't get lost in names. He says, now we should go and capture Baghdad. Muslims are weak, they won't attack us, even if we were going to capture Baghdad. By the way, Baghdad is so important, it's the house, it's like a White House, it's like a Washington. Khalifa is there. Even Crusaders came, they took all the major cities on the western side of Islam. They took Jerusalem, but still they didn't do anything to Baghdad. But now let's see what will happen to Baghdad. Halaku Khan came and he attacked. By the way, how he attacked Baghdad? The person who was working in the, first of all, they were strong, Muslims were weak. That's the fact. Muslims were never paying attention. But on top of that, there was sellout people, unfortunately. Shia-Sunni conflict, the Khalifa and the majority of the people made some law. Shias feel offended. And there was a guy named Ibn al-Alqami. He was a Shia guy. What he did, he wrote a letter, consistently made different WhatsApp groups with the Mongol Khan and Halaku Khan. And what he did, before Halaku Khan will come close, he, as a top official, he laid off few military officials from Baghdad. 10,000 military officials were laid off. Obviously, Baghdad became weak now. No one knows why he's doing, because Halaku Khan is communicating with him. And now Halaku Khan will come, and now he will going to attack Baghdad. And by the way, how many people were died? Any idea? Any idea? Yes. 3,000? It's much higher than that. But very nice attempt. Okay, Baghdad population at that time, according to Sheikh Abul Hasan Ali Nadwi, was 2.5 million. Any rough idea? Any rough idea? How many people? Just fun fact. Yeah? Close. One report says out of 2.5 million, 1.8 million people passed away. How many? 1.8 million brothers, sisters, children, and the pregnant woman. The Mongolian soldiers will cut the belly, take the fetus out, and then kill the fetus. And sometimes with the attractive woman, they would do unspeakable crime before killing them. And for the scholars of Baghdad, they would kill them brutally. And I don't have time to tell you how brutally they killed the Khalifa. It's a separate story, but I just want to come to the practicality why I'm telling you all this. Long story short, by the way, this was a physical loss, but even intellectual loss. 3 million books were there in the libraries of Baghdad. Intellectual hub. People used to come from all over. When Europe was going through dark ages. Forget about America. When Europe, Great Britain, they did not even have a single bookstore, library. Baghdad had 3 million books. Can you imagine what will be our intellectual might? When Mongol came, they burned all the 3 million books and they put the rest into the river. It was a big intellectual loss, big intellectual loss. If you are reading Islamic history, you will see intellectual decline within few years, within these years. Allahu Mustan. Not only from Islamic perspective, but even from the worldly perspective. Anyway, they killed Khalifa Musta'sam very brutally. I don't have time to go into the detail. Muslims are surprised now because this never happened now. The external enemy, you have killed the Khalifa, and now who will be the next Khalifa? And now, will they stop here, Mongols? They will move to Aleppo. How many of Syrian are there? Syria. Brother Ayad, Sister Aya? MashaAllah, Sister Ala Tante. Okay, how many 27 Tantes are here? Okay, I'm kidding. MashaAllah. So they will move to Aleppo. Then they will move to Damascus. And by the way, in between there's so many towns, they'll move to Haran, the same Ibn Taymiyyah, where he was born. And they were going to capture until they will reach to what comes after Damascus and Aleppo if you're coming from that? Egypt. Egypt is important. From the time of Salahuddin Ayyubi and before that from Fatimid also. Egypt is important. Egypt was a turning point to have a first blow on them. Egyptian Sultan fought a fight, a decisive fight, called as Ain Jalut. Ain Jalut. Again, Dr. Ali Salabi have a separate book, read that. I don't have time for that. They fought, they used modern technology, and this is a first defeat which they gave to Mongols. And that stopped Mongol for a while. But they would still try to capture Damascus and Aleppo area, and they would feel some pushback, and they would still try. So this was back and forth. But at least they lost one battle, and that is Battle of Ain Jalut. Okay. Now, before we can see the practicality, the one important thing, Abbasid Khalifa passed away. Abbasid capital, Baghdad, is gone, annihilated. Mongols have taken it. Can we say Ummah is gone? No. When Ain Jalut happened, you know what happened? A very small dynasty. No one was paying attention to that dynasty from Cairo, Egypt, called Mamluk dynasty. They rose in power, and after this victory, they said, we will control the Ummah. They found the remnants of Abbasid Khalifa, family member in Egypt. They says, you are our Abbasid Khalifa, but you don't interfere in Mamluk dynasty. We will run the... Okay? So basically, he was just a ceremonial, but now capital changed from Baghdad to Cairo, Egypt. So for next 200-300 years, the capital will be Cairo. And then who will come? Osman, not the president. But Khalifa, Khilafah, Uthmaniyya. And that will end when? Officially 1924. So basically, it's a very easy connection. Okay. They had, by the way, before I can tell you the practical lessons, when this was happening, there was a fear how we will stop Mongols. There is one battle they lost, Ain Jalut, but how we will stop Mongols? This is very important. How many of you have seen the YouTube with the attractive thumbnails in last month? Imam Mahdi have come out, Dajjal have come out. How many of you have seen that? Every time a tragedy will happen, YouTuber, influencers, I don't want to use the word, kids are sitting. They were going to be algorithm. Okay, I'm not using the word. They would sell their iman just like a individual will sell their genitalia for money. They will sell their iman for fake news so that they can go get more likes and they can get more monetization. Every tragedy, 6 months, Imam Mahdi is coming. How many Mahdis are coming, man? I mean, there's a book actually wrote that 40 famous fake Mahdi. 40 famous fake Mahdi. From the 2nd century, it's happening. Anytime a tragedy will come, instead of doing something, we are waiting, okay, Imam Mahdi is coming, let me durus, let me become famous. Imam Mahdi will come, he will come. Now let's see what happened. When this happened, when Mongols were there, historians wrote Muslims thought they were Yajuj and Majuj. Why? Because they were They were annihilating the entire cities. They were genociding. So, and obviously they're coming from the region. There's some speculation. So it's okay, this is Yajuj and Majuj. And then there was a huge fear that if they would take Egypt, they would take the entire Muslim Ummah. The entire Muslim Ummah will be wiped off. That was the fear. Okay? Now my question to you is, brothers and sisters, tell me, what will stop them? What will stop this brutal force? By the way, when they went to Christian land in Europe, they did not even fight, they surrendered. They welcomed them. Because, first of all, they were afraid. And second, they needed someone who can take revenge of Salahuddin Ayyubi. Because Salahuddin Ayyubi basically showed them their reality. Okay? Okay, now, what will stop Mongols that they won't cause any other harm? Tell me, what do you think? Yes. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. So now, the first thing, they wanted to capture Muslim lands, right? Islam ended up capturing their hearts. Subhanallah. The role which Muslim soldiers, Muslim army, Muslim military could not do, Muslim du'at and Muslim scholars did. The attackers of Islam became defenders of Islam. They started accepting Islam, and within few years, the people who came from Mongolia, they will have their own dynasty. Subhanallah. And they will be actually Muslims now. Slowly and gradually, they will start accepting Islam. Subhanallah. You know why? And we'll see, inshallah, the practicality. The first thing is we are learning from practical aspect that never feel pessimistic that why this is happening. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have his own planning. It might seem like things are tide is against us. The winds are blowing against us. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala planning, you cannot even understand. It's a divine plan. I want to actually tell you something which is very surprising if you see the history. Sheikh Abul Hasan Ali Nadwi said this. It's not surprising that, and it's not unexpected, that Mongols will going to do this with Muslim regions when Muslims are weak. Is it surprising? No. When they have a might, they have a power, they have a military, we are weak, it's not surprising they will do this. See today. But he said what was most surprising is that when Mongols were at the might and Muslims were at the weakest level from military perspective, yet instead of they capturing Muslims, Islam ended up capturing them. Subhanallah. Because ideologically, they did not have anything. And eventually when they took over, they realized this, through the cultural hegemony, that this is such a beautiful life. This is such a beautiful system. By the way, one of the most surprising thing. Who are the major scholars? Can you name who have an impact on your life? Say the names, please. Major scholars who have an impact on your life. Say the name. Raise your hand and say. Yes, say. Imam Ghazali, okay. Even contemporary, yes. Sheikh Yasir Qadi, mashallah. What else? Imam Asif, who is that? A sinful person, jahil person. Say sorry. No, I'm kidding, mashallah. Okay, Imam Asif, I think you're too generous for me, man. Subhanallah. I'll give you ice cream after this, inshallah. Okay, this is your tip. I'm getting good. Okay, okay. You know the names, right? Who have an impact on you. The most surprising thing, these scholars who converted Mongols, who saved the entire Ummah, we don't know their names. Allahu Akbar. When you do things for sincerity, you will be popular in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though maybe no one knows you in this dunya. Maybe you don't have any following. But in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have saved the entire ummah. Can you imagine this? Wallahi, I read many books about this to find out. I only found one authentic story from Iran about the Iran Mongolian guy who converted to Islam. Rest of the entire Mongolian dynasty, we don't know. And within 100 years, how many principalities of Mongolia were there? 4. Out of 4 principalities, within 100 years, 3 or 3.5 will convert to Islam. Subhanallah. There was a work happening in every street, and we have only one story. This tells us it's not about me. It's not about names of a scholar. We are living in a very individualistic life and time. It's about ummah. Ummah comes before me. This is extremely important. Should I tell you that one story, what happened, before we can move on? Okay, this is very, very interesting story, subhanAllah. This person is also called Taghlaq Taimur. Taghlaq Taimur, he led from 1347 to 1363, so way after, 78 years after. He was in charge of Iran and modern-day Afghanistan area. At that time when this incident happened, his grandfather and father was in charge. So he was basically up and coming. And obviously these Mongols are very barbaric people. He went to the hunting one day and he saw a scholar, a Muslim scholar. He was Christian at that time, by the way. This Mongolian leader was a Christian at that time. He saw a Islamic scholar sitting in a desert, in a jungle. And his name was Sheikh Jamaluddin from Bukhara, from same Bukhara, by the way. Now he moved to here. Okay, so Sheikh Jamaluddin Bukhara was here, and Taghlaq Taimur is hunting, and he want to basically poke this Islamic scholar and want to find a reason to kill him. Because he just want to basically say, like, Islamophobe, I have a power, I have a might, I want to kill you, just give me a reason. So he says, he went to the Sheikh and he said, you are Islamic scholar, tell me, are you better or my hunting dog is better? Very insulting question, right? To our mashayikh, if you will ask me after Salatul Jummah, I will slap you. Because I have such a big ego problems, right with us? Now, I won't slap you. I know you will call 911 and I will be in jail. I don't want to go there. But I'm just telling you, he was a wise person. He was an incredibly wise person. So he saw that this is a trap question. If I will say I'm better than your hunting dog, you might feel offense and you will attack me. I don't want to offend you, but I want to convey the message. So he said this. He said, if I die as a believer, then I'm better than this hunting dog. But if I die as a disbeliever, then this dog is better than me. This is a response of a person who have insight. You know, sometime Allah put effect in your words. Same YouTube video, 100 million people will see no effect, but that one person will see it will have change of heart. This Taghlaq Taimur king, it hit his heart, and he says, I want to be Muslim. He was a king, but he says, I cannot become Muslim right now because my grandfather and father won't like. Let them die. I'll come in their position and then remind me. And after a few years, the same thing happened, and then along with him, the entire region became Muslim. That's one of many experiences. But this just tells us that we don't know enough information and names. So it's not about individuals, it's about ummah. This is extremely important. Second lesson we are learning. Second lesson. Muslims were ideologically strong. When this happened, they gave dawah to Mongols and Mongol accepted Islam, right? They didn't change themselves according to Mongols. Rather, they asked Mongols to change their lifestyle. The problem with us right now is that when someone say, oh, Islam is crazy, you'll say, no, I'm not following that Islam. I'm following your version of Islam. So I'm not following that crazy Islam. I'm following that cool Islam. But Islam is Islam. Islam is one. Yes, if there is a legitimate disagreement, then ikhtilaful ulama, rahmatun wasi'ah. But if you're trying to come up with new thing, new foundation, that's not Islam. They were ideologically strong, and hence they basically captured. Okay, tell me one thing. How many of you notice that in America, how many of you go to churches? Raise your hand for interfaith meetings or for anything. Okay, yeah, I know, this is a Christian. So when you go to church, have you seen a decline in attendance generally? The pastors have asked me all the time. And by the way, some of the church, we ended up buying it. So they asked me, why, what are you doing? You see surround you? How many people are there, mashallah? What are you doing? And I'm writing something on this. Judaism also got impacted early on in 19th century, and that is the process of Reformation. Process of Reformation. This process of let's reform the religion because modernity challenges are coming. So instead of changing or developing new discourse by using the foundation of religion, which can integrate into the modern challenges, let's change the entire foundation of religion so that it can appeal the modern mind. What it does, you can make this big Worcester Islamic Center, but if you will not practice Islam, original Islam, organic Islam, unfiltered Islam, within 50 years, your next generation will come, and then the next generation will come. They will say that this is not religion, this is just the social hub, this is not answering my question, I have a spiritual question, this is a reformed version of Islam, and they will leave. Just present it as it is, be wise, be flexible, but don't compromise on the principles. Be wise, but don't compromise on the principles. There's a fine balance between that. That's what Muslims did at that time, and you see that cultural hegemony helped them to accept Islam. Third, and the last two things, inshallah, internal conflicts have always caused us more harm than external conflicts. Do you believe that? Even in this case, Baghdad was attacked because of the inner Shia-Sunni conflict. How many of you have heard about Salahuddin Ayyubi? Our hero. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us new Salahuddin Ayyubi. Actually, we don't need new Salahuddin Ayyubi. Surprising, right? We don't need new Salahuddin Ayyubi. Salahuddin Ayyubi was one. Nuruddin Zangi was one. Imaduddin Zangi was one. We need new Furqan. No, I'm serious. We need new Nawal. We need new Asif. We need new Ayah. The problem is we idolize these heroes and we demonize our contemporary people. That's what happened with Salahuddin when he was growing. It's a separate story. I'll tell you one thing. But anyway, Salahuddin Ayyubi, he himself said, I spend more time in my inner conflicts than my outer conflicts. Inner conflicts will cause us always more division, more harm. Come out of your inner conflicts. And the last but not the least, and I'll end with this inshallah, never become hopeless from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La taqnatu min rahmatillah. The story of Mongolia is the lesson. It's not one region which was going through genocide, multiple regions going through genocide. There was an environment of hopelessness. But still, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through His divine wisdom, did something which we could not even imagine. Subhanallah. You know, when the Abbasid Empire collapsed, Muslims were massacred, cities were falling left and right. Politically, we had no leadership left in that area of Baghdad. But still, Ummah survived and thrived. Why? Because it's not about Abbasid or Mamluk. We don't worship Abbasid or Mamluk Empire. We don't worship Genghis Khan or Ahlaku Khan. We don't worship Khalifa Musta'sam or Mu'tasim or so on and so forth. Dynasties and Khilafah will rise and fall. Individuals will come and go. Scholars will come and go. I told you this 1 year ago, I guess. But Ummah will be there until the day of judgment. We should have this belief. And these things will come and go. Challenges will be high, but we should be firm. Do not make the video Imam Mahdi is coming. Do something. That Imam Mahdi will come, you should help him, not making the videos. Okay. Why I'm telling you this? I'll tell you one poetry of Iqbal, separate poetry. Okay? And why I'm sharing this with you. Within last 2 months, as I shared in the Jummah khutbah, I know one of my friend actually works in Why Islam call center. There's a 877 or 800 Why Islam hotline number. I don't know exact number. You can call them and you can ask about any question about Islam. He told me last week that Imam Asif, from October 7th until now, we have received unprecedented number of calls from the young people in mainstream America, not only saying that we are with you, but most of them actually accepted Islam by seeing the resilience and perseverance of Palestine. Allahu Akbar. Isn't it a big thing? You are thinking there's a harm happening. Yes, there was a harm happened to Sumayya. I said in the Jummah khutbah, there was a harm happened to Yasir radiallahu anh. But at the end of the day, Abu Jahl didn't win. Yasir and Sumayya won. People have to sacrifice for the Ummah perspective. And eventually Ummah will thrive. Is that clear? One more thing. I personally know multiple Jewish friends and colleagues and people around me and around different network within last month. They did not only show sympathy. Sympathies are all over the social media by the Jewish people. But even some of them are accepting Islam because of all this. Subhanallah. The number of shahada, like today after Jummah, in every masjid in Dallas, have increased. Quran is the most sought book under last month. The Guardian published an article that young Americans are turning to the Quran to find out why Palestinians are more resilient. Out of all, Guardian is publishing this. Can you imagine this? Why? Okay, this is something interesting. 23 years ago, when 9/11 happened, also non-Muslims actually opened the Quran. But they did not open the Quran with a positive attitude. They opened the Quran, what is this in this book which is making Muslims crazy? This time, they are opening the Quran. But this time they are saying, what is in this book which is making Muslims so patient and so resilient? This is the first time we have silent majority with us. Subhanallah. Tide is turning. And I hope, inshallah, we can do this, inshallah. I want to end this, inshallah, with one of the poems. How many of you understand Urdu? Raise your hand. I'll translate, inshallah. I'll translate. I promise I'll translate. There is no substitute for this. I have to say it in Urdu and I'll translate in English. Okay? So Allama Iqbal, one of the famous poet, he was Indian origin. He was the person who wrote the national anthem of India. Pakistani friends. He wrote a national anthem of India because at that time he was taken care by nationalism. And then he was the one who proposed the idea of Muslims having separate state, aka Pakistan. But he passed away before Pakistan was formed. He's a scholar of the Quran, poet, philosopher. He completed his higher education until PhD in Europe, Germany and England. At that time, Brits were flying. They were superpower. America did not even come into the picture. So it's before pre-World War I. He visited Europe and he realized how weak the foundation of Europe and how Muslims are lacking in confidence. Because remember, he said this, what I'm about to say, in 1913, and within a decade, Ottoman Empire will collapse. So it's very relevant, right, what I'm talking? And he said this in Urdu and then the translation. He says, "Tu na mit jayega Iran ke mit jaane se," referring to the Mongol incident. He said, Muslim Ummah, you won't be removed from the map just because Iran and Iraq is being taken by Mongols. Nashae mein ko taalluk nahi paimane se. He says, the intoxication does not lie in the glass, it's in the liquor. If the glass will be changed, still you'll be intoxicated. So whether Khalifa is in Baghdad or in Egypt, it doesn't matter, you will survive. Are you getting it? Then he says, है ये आया फितना तातार के अफसाने से पासबा मिल गए काबे को सनम खाने से. He said, it's very obvious from the story of Mongols that the attackers of Islam became the defenders of Islam and Kaaba. Allahu Akbar. And then he said something for all of us, for the Muslims in West, because he was in the West. He said this, and I want you to pay close attention in English one. In Urdu one, I know you won't understand. He said, Kashti haq ka sahara tu hai. He says, it's a dark night. Everyone is struggling for guidance. The only one who have a divine guidance is you, O Muslim. Don't feel pessimistic. You have a message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you are in the dark ocean, in the dark night of the modern cloud. The modernity cloud is there. The modernity night is there. And you are the only star which have some light left. So instead of feeling pessimistic, use this time to guide people. Allahu Akbar. He said this in 1913. And how relevant it is today. How relevant it is today. Don't feel pessimistic. This is the best time to introduce your colleagues and co-workers about the traditional Islam. Don't change Islam. Change yourself according to Islam. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us proper wisdom, inshallah ta'ala. That's what I had to say. My books are here. I could not find a volunteer who can sell this. So I don't know what's the plan. Okay, you can? Mas, come here. Come here. Take these 2 books, inshallah. You can keep it there. Whoever wants to come, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay. So now I'm open for Q&A, inshallah. How much time we have? Sheikh Jamali? 15 minutes? Okay, inshallah. I'm open for Q&A. One brother, one sister. That's what I learned from Dallas. One brother, one sister. And we don't believe in third gender. So we'll go back to brother again. Yes, let's start with brother. No question? Alhamdulillah. Oh, yes. from intellectually, because it was an intellectual hub of Muslims for 400-500 years. After this, Baghdad would never become the same Baghdad. What was there at the time of, let's say, from Mamun, Khalifa Mamun, 2nd century, 3rd century onwards. So that's what. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give not only Baghdad, but entire Muslim region these lost glory back. May Allah give us back. Ameen ya Rabb. Sisters, any question? Yes, sister. Very good. So I told that Khawarizm Shah made a mistake about killing the ambassador of Genghis Khan. Can we apply this in our scenario? It would be too subjective and speculative. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying, that when you are doing this copy pasting, and I know people do this, we have to be very careful. I'll tell you one story like this. So one of these scholars somewhere in the world right now gave a fatwa that this is happening to Palestine because they deserve it. Muslim scholar. 16,000 Muslims have passed away, out of which 10,000 are women and kids. And you are saying, as a scholar, you are known as scholar, that this is happening to Palestine because they deserve it. No matter what evidence you use, Genghis Khan, Salahuddin Ayyubi, Nuruddin Zangi, it doesn't make sense, right? So if the worst thing we can do at this time to basically, in our rhetoric, we can, as you said, we can manifest that we are supporting Zalim or the Zulm. The best thing is to support the Muslim oppressed. If not, then stay quiet instead of supporting the oppressor or oppression. So I agree with you that we should not be casual in copy-pasting the situation, because otherwise the situation will be worse. But in that case, it was obvious. In this case, we don't know. We only know what we see. And alhamdulillah, we can see on Twitter, because of Ilhan Mosque, 20 years ago, we could not even see the situation, what it was happening in Afghanistan and Iraq. So we should not be premature in copy pasting, as you said. We should be careful. So it's a good comment, mashallah. Any other comment? Yes. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I cannot hear you, subhanallah.
Here in the US or Canada, in the West, our tax money for contributing to this development, are we
So brother is asking that our taxes money are contributing to this. Are we considered sinful? I don't know. Honestly speaking, you need to check with the scholar who is well-versed in attorney. I know one scholar who is well-versed in legal law. He can answer you better. I honestly speaking don't want to give you speculative answers in the definite questions. So I don't know. Any other question? Yes, Sister Sadia. Alhamdulillah. Yeah, tell me. Sorry? Yeah.
So you know how for kids, we teach them that there's no concept of really nationalism in Islam.
Yeah.
So when they hear about fighting for you standing up for Palestine or a piece of land towards versus the Muslim Ummah who's suffering all over the world. So I just wanted to address that a little.
Very good. This is by the way, this is the most important question out of all, which is the root cause of the issue of nationalism. I still want to quote you Iqbal, but I'll quote you after the program, inshallah. I don't want to but nationalism, I am teaching next semester, it will be available online, a class in Dallas, Islam versus modern idols. Islam versus modern idols. And the theme of this, isms and ologies. So liberalism, conservatism, then nationalism, all these things we cover for 2 hours each. So it's really difficult to just put the entire information in my mind right now in just 2 minutes. But see, that when you ask from the Palestinian context, we have a concept of ummah, and this nationalism basically doesn't help us because of many, many reasons. But when we are helping Palestinian brothers and sisters, it's not because there is something special in that region because of that nation. It's because they are my brothers and sisters. If the same thing would have happened to Sudan, and you know it's happening to Sudan, how many people have died in Sudan? You know, approximately last week 12,000 people. They are Muslim brothers and sisters, but because media is not giving them attention, no one knows about them. We don't hear khutbahs about them. 12,000 brothers and sisters, your brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters in Sudan are dying. So whether it's Sudan, Palestine, Afghanistan, Pakistan, wherever, I need to help. This should be our attitude. So we should try to find a balanced approach. And I know all of us like to have this Palestinian flag. We are not doing this because we are believers in nationalism. We are doing this because people will think this is the sign of resistance. They're two different things. We don't believe in all these isms. If they will come because of the predominant philosophy, we don't have that much control, but we believe in the concept of ummah-centric approach, not nation-centric approach. Because otherwise, you know what will happen? You will have a nation-centric definition of what is good and bad. Should I give you one example? Okay. Sisters, because you asked me, Sister Sadi, I'll give you a feminine example. Okay. If a sister is aborting her fetus in 8 months, is it considered, and without any reason from the Shari perspective, medical reason, from the Islamic perspective, is it considered violence that 8 months you have to wait and then you have to abort the fetus? Tell me. Okay, I know some sisters are freeze at this point because of obvious reasons. Forget about Islam. Use your humanity, right? Humanity. 8 months. Every religion, science, everyone say the soul is there. It's a full-fledged baby fetus. 8 months. Is it considered as violence without any reason? Absolutely. Okay. But when we bring religion, no, don't bring religion. Because obviously we have allergy with religion. You know, Western countries, I found one thing. We have a grudge against God. Grudge. Because of our experience of Christianity few hundred years, because in the name of Christianity, they abuse sexually and financially, we see religion from skeptical eyes. Always we have a grudge against religion, religious authorities, and God. When you talk to a normal, mainstream American, when anything comes from religion, they will have skeptical eyes. When they will see religious authority, they will see from a skeptical eyes. Because religious authority have abused them from finances and sexual standpoint. But anyway, so it's violence, right? But you will use, because this is a Western idea, Western human idea, the idea of choice, right? That even if 8 months, she have a choice because it's her body. That's a one side argue within the Westernization. And this is human idea of personal autonomy and choice, right, sister? Are you following? Okay. But because you have superiority complex, you want to humanize Afghani women also. And you want to take them out of their home, even though they decide and it's their choice they want to stay home. You will attack Afghanistan, and your regime, within your government, someone will come official, Hillary Clinton interviews there, that we want to liberate Afghani women. But what if they want to stay home? It's their choice. Where's the choice argument? You're making violence halal for choice, and you are making violence haram for choice. Did you see a moral dichotomy? It's all because of the Western versus Eastern nation state idea. If we do this in our nation, it's everything is okay with choice. If you do this with your choice, you need liberation, even though you're following your choice. Then the standard is not Quran and Sunnah. Its standard is not logic or empirical science. Its standard is nation state. And there are many other examples, but we can talk. This register into my class. The fees is duas. There is no fees, inshallah. Any other question before we can end? Yes. That's a very good question. What else we can do? especially sisters. Someone asked me if I have 3 kids, I'm working at home, what should I do to make feel that I'm participating something? Remember, we don't believe in individualism. This very Western idea about individualism, and especially after John Locke came in 18th century, we believe in ummah. We believe in ummah. By you participating, by sharing that one video on Facebook and then getting a shadow ban for a week, inshallah, Allah will accept that. That's your jihad. Whatever you can do. Didn't Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that try to change things from your hand? And then he says, فَإِلَّمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِي lisani. If that is not possible, then try to change things with your tongue. He did not say stop things with your tongue. He says, مَرَّ مِنْكُمْ فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِي. يا أهل العرب ما معنى فليغير? Is it stop or change? Change. This is very important. Stopping is not in our situation, but change, at least we can try until this change. First with hand, if not possible with words. We can apply this on social media, and if not possible, at least feel in your heart this is oppression happening. Never support an oppressor or oppression. Always keep your heart with the oppressed. That's what we can do. But financially, you can support them. If there is rallies happening, protests happening, I know one particular flavor of Islam don't like me for saying this, but attend the protest. Imam Asif, but there are women dancing there. Okay, you don't dance with them, you go ahead, but join the protest. There is no haram in saying free Palestine, right? If there's something unusual, if there's some unusual thing happening in the masjid, would you stop coming in masjid? No, you would just pray and leave. Just go there, participate, record the voice and go. So this is extremely important. Don't just use these arguments at this time to basically ruffle the momentum. But do whatever you can on social media is a big, by the way. You can do so much on social media just by sharing the videos, especially on Twitter. That's where the real information battle is happening. There are 2 battles right now. One is there, and the other is information is on social media. So try to participate in that, inshallah ta'ala. Any other question before we can end? Yes, Sheikh Nawal. Actually, Sister Asima is there. So I'll take 2 and then I will end, inshallah. Is that okay? Sister Asima, how are you, mashallah? Yes. Are you coming from Piers Morgan show? Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, let me repeat that. What I was trying to say is, you described in 1218, it took them 40 years to understand what was really happening. And part of that was the sharing of information. They didn't have WhatsApp, they didn't have internet. So I'm assuming they also didn't have testimonies of what kind of atrocities happened. In this today, we don't have that excuse. We have firsthand knowledge of what's going on. So if you compare the Muslim Ummah leaders in those Muslim countries, do you perceive that the humanity and the religiousness and their iman is less than what it was back in the 12th, 18th, the 13th century?
Well, this is speculative, but I would say that there is, obviously our situation seems better at this point with whatever is happening. But I see a rise in Western version of Islam. Well, I'm not Amriki Imam, but I can see that the activists here, I went to Umrah recently. From the taxi driver to my friends who are in Medina University, which book I gave you reference? Dr. Ali Salavi. Last week I was in Medina. I went into the biggest bookstore of Medina. I said, do you have this book, Mughal and Tatar? They said, we are told by the Hukuma, the guy said, that you cannot keep this book So we have it in private. If you want, we can give you in 10 riyal. This is this big, 50 riyal book. I said, okay, give me fatura. You know fatura? Receipt. He said, no, we cannot give you fatura because we are haram. It's haram for us to sell this. They are afraid so much. They are trying to control everything. So there is that sense of, but subhanAllah, I cannot say everyone is like that. There's some khair coming. That's why in West especially, we are trying to change the narrative, and that's working. You know, subhanAllah, the early on Netanyahu said that we are not going for ceasefire, we're going to make this a parking lot, so on and so forth, but they ended up in ceasefire. White House changed their position so much. Biden have to say, I saw the babies decapitated and on my WhatsApp message, and then White House had to issue the statement, it was false. Why they are changing? Tell me. Because of us protesting, us trying to claim back the narrative. This never happened before. But collectively, there is a fall within our, let's say, some leaders. So there's no definite answer to this. But yes, we are more accountable because of information and now because of the opportunities and resources. But because of the opportunities, we are doing more also. This never happened before. When you have seen that 60% of mainstream Americans for more than a month, for 2 consecutive months, will go for ceasefire because zulm is happening in Palestine. I'm talking about non-Muslim Americans. This never happened before. This never happened before. You know, when they went for the ceasefire in the Congress, how many votes were there, do you know? Majority says they should not go for ceasefire, but still minority says around 252. How many votes were there who were saying no? 152 or 252? How many were there? It was around, let's say, 65% would say go and 35% would say no, just do ceasefire. And you would say that, see, the American people, still they're not getting it. But didn't you see as a Muslim brothers and sisters, at least 35% in American politics, they are saying go for ceasefire. When this happened before? It's because of you sharing on social media. This is victory for us. In America 10 years ago, we could never imagine. 2014, a smaller amount of same tragedy came. We could never imagine. But these things are happening, tide is changing. But are the leaders doing? Maybe not what they are supposed to do. So hopefully, inshallah, they will get the inspiration soon, inshallah. Stop waiting for Imam Mehdi, do something. That's why the way is also coming from Iqbal. Okay, inshallah, I'll end with Brother Nawal, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair for the wonderful analogies of the situation with the Mongols in that time and now. It made me reflect on the point of the Abbasids becoming weak due to internal conflict and desires and all of these things that make someone weak. In our times, I would say that should we not caution ourselves against one of the biggest weaknesses that we have today, which is lack of economic freedom? Because what the West is doing all this with their money and power, and that's all they have. And so an example would be, without thinking, we take out student loans. Without thinking, we take out huge, enormous mortgages. Without thinking, we take out huge car loans. And putting ourselves in a situation where we're fearful of, for example, if you're a student, when you graduate, they're not giving you jobs. They're taking jobs away. So that would silence a lot of students. That's their goal, knowing that they don't have economic freedom. For faculty, for teachers, for workers, anyone speaking out have this fear of being threatened, of losing their income. So wouldn't it be a good idea for us to, like you said in the khutbah today, to wake up? There's a big wake-up call to sort of get our house in order and deny these desires for ourselves that really are not necessities.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
What I would say.
Wallahi, this is beautiful conclusion to this. The heartbreaking moment for me was not only when I saw that grandfather was carrying our granddaughter, or thousands of videos like this which have not come to us. These all were heartbreaking. But the biggest heartbreaking thing was when the entire ummah was screaming, Elon Musk, to give a Starlink to Gaza. You remember that moment? And I was like, aren't we supposed to teach the world about divine guidance, and we are begging for technology? Where is our technology? Why we are lacking behind? You know why we are lacking behind? Because the religious people are too busy in fighting in the masajid and dirty politics and madaris. And I'm sorry to be blunt here. Sorry to be blunt here. How many of us worked our Muslim intelligent cream working in the Ivy Leagues school, graduating from that okay, we are going to make a technology which will not only benefit Muslims but even non-Muslims, so that when a time will come, I will support Muslim. I will support my ummah. Just read the history. 100 years history, they will tell you how to control the world. And Salahuddin Ayyubi became Salahuddin Ayyubi not by getting a PhD in tafsir like your Imam Asif did. Salahuddin Ayyubi was Hafiz of the Quran. Salahuddin Ayyubi held a huge respect for scholars. But he was a person who was well versed in war sciences. How many of us would do that? How many of us are well versed in technology? We are not well versed. And then comes to economic. Looks like that every other Muslim country is seeking zakat from IMF. They cannot operate within themselves. Their currency is declining. The reason for it is because, and I taught this entire into the history class, that's why it's so relevant. For American Muslims, my question to you is, I actually wrote this point down what you were just saying. So first is, how many of us, and I'm talking in Massachusetts, okay? How many of us hold esteemed academic position in top tier US universities where we can say proudly that, okay, I am a tenured professor in this Ivy League school? None. How many patents have been registered under our names, and what percentage of important studies in the sciences and humanities bear Muslim name? I know as a student of philosophy now, most of our traditional scholars like myself, we will going to say humanities department is crazy because they are messing up with Islam. They are including in metaphysics. But did you write your own metaphysical assumption humanities book? No. So what you will do? You have to read Sigmund Freud because we don't have Muslim psychologists. Third, how involved are we in grassroots politics? I know left and right politics, no one is talking about that because that's a very controversial topic. But grassroots politics, school board, you don't even need to go to left or right. That's where education curriculum is decided. You are afraid for your kids to be taught about sexuality ideas. How many of you are in Worcester education board system? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Only one sister. And when I was here, we had the email thread, only one Muslim name, and I was surprised. And we were going to cry that, oh, America is becoming bad. They're teaching this. But if you are there, if you're not at the table, you are on the table. The last thing, how affecting is our networking and how much is our cumulative wealth? Mark Zuckerberg, Muslim. Elon Musk, Muslim. Jeff Bezos, Muslim. Steve Jobs, Muslim. Now pause and to go back to Sahaba. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Muslim. Usman, Muslim. 6 out of 10 Sahaba who were given like tidings of Jannah by Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they were millionaires at that time in Medina. And we told our kids, wealth is bad. Wealth make you evil person. Then definitely you will be controlled by the economics or the industrialists. So we need to teach our kids also, so that eventually, not only from the ideological angle, but even from economical angle, they can have a say in the world affairs, inshallah ta'ala. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us proper wisdom. If I said something in an aggressive way, like this topic was emotional, so don't make small videos and post on YouTube, Imam Asif is exposed. Don't do that. And don't text that person. I have already met that person last week. I'm telling you. Inshallah. I ask all of you to please make dua for me. I'll make dua for you. And I'm here to meet you all, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum. Just bear with me a couple of minutes. There's a few announcements. Just a couple minutes. Brothers and sisters, how many of you have turned on the heat recently at home? Anybody? Okay. Have you noticed anything happen to your heating bill? What happened to your heat bill? Went down? It went up. Okay. A facility like this, it has its expenses, right? The budget for this year has $20,000 left of a gap that we need to close. A $20,000 gap that we need to close. What you can do, inshallah, until the end of the year to help us meet that budget, inshallah, is more than welcome. May Allah Azza wa Jalla reward you. The other thing is that the Worcester Islamic Center has also put efforts together to raise money for Palestine and has dedicated $20,000 as a goal. There's $1,000 left on that goal for us to meet it. Is there any person that wants to close that gap of $1,000? Okay, we've got one. If there are more people, inshallah, we've got a couple, inshallah. You can please see Brother Saqib after that. A few more announcements. The dinner today was sponsored by the Bangladeshi community. May Allah Azza wa Jalla protect them and all of us. The brothers are going to be eating dinner in the social hall. The sisters will be in the cafeteria. Brothers in the social hall, sisters in the cafeteria. And lastly, whoever has a moment to help us roll the carpets and prepare for tomorrow's banquet event here tomorrow, then please do so. Jazakumullahu khairan.